All right, Dieselheads, it's episode 5 of the Chronicles of Diesel, a monthly jaunt through Vin Diesel's filmography here on the Sonic Movie Show's podcast feed. My name is Ethan, and with me here today is Devin.
Someone's gonna get hurt one of these days. It ain't gonna be me.
I had a feeling it was either going to be that, or, what was it? Like I told you, it ain't me you gotta be worried about.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Give me a goddamn hand. That was the other one I wrote down. I just found that one funny. You got it all wrong.
Yes, these
I
are quotes from...
believe in God.
Oh my God, are you going to keep talking?
There's a lot of great quotes in this film.
My recap starts with one. But yes, this is a quote or multiple quotes from the 2000 hit film Pitch Black, aka the Chronicles of Riddick, Pitch Black, depending on when we talk about this film. This is, I would say, the beginning of Vin Diesel's real career,
the legacy,
as a Vin Diesel actor. It's funny because up until now, every film we've seen that has Vin Diesel in it for the Chronicles of Diesel has been antithetical to what we call a Vin Diesel character.
Yeah,
our perception of the actor before starting this podcast series is very different to all of the films we've seen until now. Now it's like no,
this is what I came here
this
for.
Is Vin Diesel.
This is what I came here for.
Diesel. And it's hilarious because we get all these we had a couple like Vin Diesel funded and directed projects that are about the life of an actor and auditioning and this and that, and then like the first thing I see behind the scenes thing about Pitch Black is the director David Twohy saying Vin Diesel's a terrible auditioner. And he almost didn't get the role.
What?
So, yeah, I'm like, maybe something just snapped and he just became Blockhead Vin Diesel or whatever. I don't mean to say that but he became the Vin Diesel we know and love.
Yes.
Do
you mean David Twohy there? Or
yeah.
That's how you pronounce it?
I guess Twohy.
I have some news. I have some news about that.
About him? Hit me because he's barely done anything.
Oh, David Twohy. No, I meant like it's kind of related, but are we gonna do the news segment, or do you want me to? Are you gonna?
I forgot that you have a segment on this show. I apologize. I almost started the recap.
Wow. I'm pitch blacked out. Clearly. Haha.
I'm so not that caring. No, but yes. The way this show works is that we start off with what do you call this? VNN Vin News Network, Diesel News Network, whatever. We talk a little bit about history of the Vin Diesel era of this movie, how he got into the role, etc. Maybe what was going on in his life. And then we talk about the film, maybe rank and review it, and then we leave because we don't want us to stay here forever on your phone. So, Devin, hit me up with the July.
July.
That's right, because it's August 1st
I
coming out of this episode.
I forgot to.
Hit me with all them July facts.
So, usually what we do here is we go over Instagram. That's our main source for pretty much everything, because it's straight from Vin's mouth, usually, because he actually does, like, video, like, almost like vlogs, like, every, like, so often he'll do, like, a 30-second being like, hey, guys, just want to say I love you guys, and, like, just, like, very wholesome content you get from Vin Diesel.
Some weird fan art someone else made of him.
Yeah, he loves fan art. And in July we had like 10 or so posts. In June we had 10 or so posts. In July we only have 3. So I was like, is something going on with Vin? Is he okay? Everything's great. In fact, his first post was celebrating Michelle Rodriguez's birthday. It's him and her wearing like all black. Looks like it's a photo taken from like 2003, probably for the first Fast and Furious. Like it just looks so early 2000. Like the attire, I'm just like, oof, not a good look. But that was the first post really got. And then I can't believe we almost missed it. I almost forgot until I saw the day after. July 18th. You know what happened on July 18th? It's not. It's
No.
It's Vin Diesel's birthday.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Why didn't we know this?
I don't know.
That should have been like the first thing we said on the episode.
I know.
Episode number
So
1.
happy birthday, Vin Diesel, if you're listening. Appreciate you. So yeah, on July 18th was his birthday, and he gave a shout out on July 19th, saying thanks to all the birthday wishes. And it was a collage of him like now, and then all around, like, so it had like looks like 9 photos of him as a kid, and he had a big afro as a kid.
Okay, well, just like in his dancing video.
Yeah, I'm saying like he like when he was like 7, maybe, or 8.
Okay,
so he's really young. And then in the centerfold is just a picture of him now, and I just thought that was funny. And he has a big old smile on his face, and I'm like, God damn, Vin.
Of course.
But
of course.
Yeah, it was his birthday, and he said thanks for all the birthday wishes. And then 4 days ago, we get a video.
As of the time of this recording.
Yes, which is July 27th. We have a little video here from him, 59 seconds, where the caption itself says thanks for all the birthday wishes, etc., etc. And he has his classic like Happy Creatives caption as well in there. But the video itself, he doesn't really mention anything about his birthday. He just says he read the latest draft of Chronicles of Riddick by Tui there, and says it's one of the greatest scripts he's ever read. Ever.
Didn't he say that about like the last Witch Hunter 2 or something?
Yes, he did. But he says one of the best ones he's read, and he said, if you listen to the other episodes, we've talked about this, where he says that he believes we'll get a lot of good writing out of the people being quarantined,
self-isolation.
Out of self-isolation. I'm like, or maybe people just go insane. I don't know which, but he said that he knew that Tui was going to come up with something great because of quarantine. He's like, I knew it. They also said that he like randomly went to something completely different. He said also watch out for scammers. He's like, if you don't see a blue tick by my name, it isn't me. Like basically being like,
is there like a fake account going around?
Yeah, I guess so. And he's just like, if it isn't from me, or if it doesn't have a blue check, it isn't from me. And he also called them desperate. Those people who do that. And I'm like, damn, a little shade from the Vin. I didn't know he had shade in his heart, but he does.
I would have figured he would have been honored that someone wants to impersonate his life.
I guess. So after that, he said, Brugger Walker, heard of your heroic deeds, and I'm proud of you. And I tried to look that up, and I couldn't find anything. So there might be something.
Oh. Was that the name of the kid that saved his sister from being mauled by a dog?
Was it? I didn't know how to spell.
I'm just literally guessing right now. But
it might.
Yeah. This.
Hold up, because I was trying to like find something. I was trying to look up the name.
I'll let you pull it.
Try to find something. Oh, maybe it was Bridger Walker, and I think he said Bridger Walker. I just heard it as Brugger Walker. So Bridger Walker saved his 4-year-old sister from a dog attack. Good call.
Yeah. He got like 20 stitches.
Yeah,
the kid.
Yeah, he got messed up.
But
yeah, he gave a shout out to that kid, and then that was the video.
Yeah, because a bunch of celebrities in films like gave stuff to that kid. Like I think Chris Hemsworth and
Chris Evans,
Robert Downey Jr. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. each gave stuff to the kid based off their characters.
Yeah, I saw the Chris Evans one, and I'm just like, God damn, Chris, you're handsome and you're wholesome. Fucking love you, dude. God damn. Maybe we could do a Chris Evans podcast one day. 'Cause I know he's had a crazy career himself.
Chris Evans?
Yeah.
Yeah, so did Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, so did Robert Downey Jr., true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all for Instagram. But, well, actually, one last thing. I've been starting to track how many followers he gets on Instagram just to see if it's gone up or down. So last month he was at 64.6 followers. This month he's at 65 million. So he went up 0.4 million followers.
I was going to say, at first you didn't say million. I'm like, he has 64 followers.
64 followers. So, yeah, he's still going up. The stock is still going up. I don't think it's going to go down, but
I guess we completely, what do I want to say? Underrated the impact Bloodshot would have on audiences.
Well, I
got to follow his.
That is the last news I have for you. Is some Bloodshot news. As China reopened its theaters, Robert Downey Jr. Back to Robert Downey Jr. His Doolittle movie there opened number 1 in the Chinese box office, and then Bloodshot was number 2, and it earned, ready, $2.73 million in its opening weekend, including 210,000 at IMAX. So,
how much did Doolittle get? Do you know?
Hold up here. I think it was around
because Doolittle was apparently terrible, and it bombed.
I don't have it up here. Hold up.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't have it up anymore.
That's fine. I just want to know what's the difference between number 1 and 2.
It was from Forbes.
You know what I mean?
It was from Forbes, and I remember it saying that like by default, Doolittle and Bloodshot are 1 and 2 because like nothing else released basically in China. So, and they also wrote that like it probably still won't get its money back. It sounds like so, which sucks for Vin because I know he was really hyping up this film, and then like literally. Coronavirus just came out of nowhere in America and just destroyed.
As far as the entertainment industry goes, as far as that goes, and not necessarily talking about the lives of the people in the entertainment industry and the impact on them, because obviously the hundreds of thousands of deaths is a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, it was like a really good thing for anything that was going to bomb. Like Riddick was not Riddick, Pitch Black, or Jesus, what's this movie called? Boiler Room?
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Yeah, all the other ones.
Strays, Awakenings, Bloodshot. I almost called it Boiler Room again. Bloodshot was probably not going to make very much money, so now they have an excuse as to why.
Yeah,
you know
I think
what I mean?
they
it's
said
hard
the
to get discouraged when
when
a pandemic happens.
According to Forbes, it said at best it would have topped out 25 million domestic if the coronavirus didn't happen. And I'm like, and it had a budget of 42 million or whatever.
I forgot that was the budget. Oh my god!
For that
budget,
opening week
made.
I think
2.
they still made good effects with that, but. You'll have to hear our review. Well, you can listen to our review in one of the previous episodes, but you'll hear it again
in like 5 years.
5 years. We'll see you in 5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for Vin news. His birthday was the biggest news event, I think. So, and the Chronicles of Riddick scripts
and Michelle Rodriguez's birthday. Don't discount her.
Yep.
Maybe we'll do a parallel podcast series about her career.
Can watch Resident Evil again. Remember that?
Is that sort of like number 1 video game movie, isn't it?
Yeah, Resident Evil, baby.
And bottom is a movie that we haven't yet had an episode for. Spoilers. Yes, but also speaking about spoilers about the past, Vin Diesel, there's not much about how Vin Diesel got the role of Riddick. He just auditioned for it. I mean, he had more clout because he was in more films, and around the time of the filming of this, he was also in filming for Boiler Room at the time, which was last month's episode. So he wasn't a known-name person.
I was going to say, before we recorded, we found out that it came out the exact same day.
Right.
Boiler Room and Pitch Black. So Vin made money. This is probably his first big paycheck, though. Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe he probably got paid good for Iron Giant, though. I would think.
Budget on that was small, but
I'm saying
I'm sure Saving Private Ryan also.
2 movies, though?
Yeah. So there's not much to say about how he got this role, but he is on the track now. And this film I wouldn't say catapult him, but like we said at the top of the show here, this is him becoming the Vin Diesel that we know is in this film. So I would say, yes, this is, for all intents and purposes, stage 1 of Vin Diesel's career. Like, all of that was a preamble to stage 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prologue.
Yep, exactly. That's the prologue before the movie's credits or title pops up on the screen. You know what I mean? The names of all the people that worked on the film are all popping up while he's going through his life, and then Riddick happens, and then now the film starts for him. But yes. So yes, episode today is going to be about Pitch Black, the 2000 film starring one Vin Diesel, aka Riddick B. something. I didn't even actually look at his full name, but
Richard B. Riddick.
Richard B. Riddick. That's right. One of the tiny fun facts is, I guess, as a joke, in the draft, he was originally referred to as Riddick B. Bad is his name, but whatever.
Rich B. Rid. That sounds like a good rapper name right there. Rich B. Rid, dude. You listen to Rich B. Rid? Hell yeah, dude. He fire.
Eat the rich.
Eat the rich.
So let's begin our recap of Pitch Black. Came out in 2000, budget of $23 million. Guess how much this film made box office?
2000. Let's say I'm gonna go flat 200.
200 million?
Yeah.
Well, it only made 53 million. So,
because Boiler Room got all the money. That's right.
Yes, but it did double its budget.
I try to go. I didn't like. I'm trying to. I'm still getting used to like the early 2000s. Like,
yeah,
how much money is how much? You know,
we've been doing a bunch of video game movie episodes, and we've been looking at the box office results for those as well. And I feel like for the most part, they just barely break the triple-digit barrier, and that's if like the well-known ones like Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. So for the most part, I feel like less than for like a no-name first-time thing that isn't all that super memorable in terms of like what were the best films of the early 2000s. I feel like 53 is about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get into more.
See, I thought this movie was a lot more popular, I guess. Because
I think it's only popular because Vin Diesel is a bigger name now.
You think? Because I've seen it not seen this movie in whole, but I've seen like some scenes on like Sci-Fi Channel growing up. Like I remember like
really
watching this back now. I'm just like, oh, I remember this, and I remember like,
I mean, it makes sense because the film looks like it's a sci-fi original movie.
It does. But what's funny is I always remembered Vin Diesel's character like not talking at all. And so to find out that he's this like a funny asshole in this entire movie,
he's Space Dominic Toretto,
basically. That I was like, okay, cool. That I like this even more now because he's an asshole.
So you've only seen random scenes, right?
Yeah, I might have seen parts of the other one, Riddick there, and didn't know because I don't know. It's been so long.
Yeah, I've never seen any of these films, and I was actually surprised at the plot for what this movie was. I'm like, so he's not like a good guy? Like, wait a second.
I didn't even look at the plot. I just went straight in blind. I thought he was a good guy.
Me neither.
I thought he was a good guy.
Because I knew there were sequels, I'm like, well, he's an action hero, but well, we'll get into more about legacy of this film in a bit. But yes, box office of 53 million, directed by David Twohy, aka Banjo Tooie, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie. It's an actual name. There was going to be a Banjo 3, but they didn't make that. David Twohy doesn't have a big credits list of the things he's worked on. He's written a good amount of films, maybe a little over a dozen, and directed maybe half of those films.
Okay.
He's done all of the Riddicks, which makes sense as to why he would be doing the last one. And he was the writer on a few, I wouldn't say well-known films, but like films that you would have remembered hearing about. G.I. Jane being one, and The Fugitive. He wrote both of those.
Okay.
So those were also around this time. So let's begin. So after the Interscope Communications logo, which was a pretty dope name for a production company.
Also, it's been a hot minute since I watched a Universal movie. Like, I just realized this. Like, when the dun-dun-dun-dun, I'm like, it just clicked for me. I'm like, man, it's been a hot minute since I watched Universal. We've been watching a lot of Paramount movies because Vin's in a bunch of Paramount movies.
Yeah.
Sonic is in a Paramount film. So like I was
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Wait, what? So I was just like, man, it's been a hot minute since I watched Universal, but so I was excited about that.
I was about to explain a meme I once saw about the Universal logo, but I'm going to spare you, audience. Because it's not that funny to explain memes. It really isn't. So after the Interscope Communications logo and the Universal logo, we see a long-ass spaceship in space and the Pitch Black logo. They say most of your brain shuts down in Cairo sleep, all but the primitive side, the animal side.
Hell yeah.
No wonder I'm still awake. So dumb. He says more things.
It's so cheesy, but I'm just like, I wanted it. I'm just like, yes.
Just the fact that like it doesn't affect him because he's not like the others is whatever. But like, imagine having to like, that's a prison in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they have stuff hooked up to all their vitals so that they obviously don't die in their sleep. So he can't move and he's stuck there. Riddick narrates his situation. We learn that the ship is transporting various types of people along a seedy back road. Riddick is a prisoner and is there with his retainer, William Johns, a.k.a. William. For the rest of this movie, I'll just call him William. And I'll give you our first fun fact. What's his name? Vin Diesel actually has claustrophobia, and he had a panic attack in this. He had a panic attack in the tube. They had to like yank him out.
You didn't just rip his self out? You didn't animal his way out of there? Yeah.
I guess. So yeah, the ship is shot full of holes, killing the captain, who I think was like in cryosleep or whatever. Cryosleep.
Classic.
At the time. As he's waking up. As the rest of the crew wake up and try to wrangle the ship, they discover that they've drifted off course and are falling towards a planet. Many pieces of the ship are flying off, and many levers are pulled.
I was going to say, she's like basically... There was more cargo, but they never really showed it, but she's just pulling the levers like, we have to, or else we're just all going to crash and die.
Right.
Looks like a lot of other people died. Or I'm assuming there's other people in that. They never really...
No, I think all of the passengers were in that final section. That's why they made a big deal about it. But it's just like everything that... Because I think it was supposed to be a giant commercial transport ship. Kind of like a train. Yeah. Would have like cars that are actually, things that aren't related to the people in there. Because you're already heading this way, you might as well bring it too, Just like all the side quests in Death Stranding. Mm-hmm. But that was my thing. I just love the fact that there was so much like diegetic sounds and just all these levers and things, and they all made clicking noises. And I'm like, oh, that'd be a fun set to build.
We had the awkward dialogue, which I was like, when I think it was Will landed on the girl, and he's like, "Why am I on top of you?" And I'm just like, "What?" That was a weird.
Was that William or was that Owens, the other?
I don't know. It was just I don't know who
crew member,
but it doesn't matter. It's just like an awkward like, who wakes up and me? I'm like, man, why am I on you? Like, I'd be like, oh shit, what's happening? Like, I don't know. It's just a weird dialogue.
Because he was supposed to be like, why am I falling? Because I think they didn't have gravity, but then the fact that they lost their pressurization turned their gravity back on.
They could have easily just said, what the hell's going on? And I've been like, okay.
It was weird. Instead of making a why I'm on top of you, But the ship crashes, and the passengers try to get their bearings. Riddick has escaped, and his retainer, William, searches for him. Riddick attempts to strangle him, but it fails. I feel like Riddick wouldn't fail this, considering everything else that we know about him later in the movie. He would have succeeded in strangling the man.
Well, I think the thing he was on holding fell, and that's what like caused him.
Oh, okay. So that saved William's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. The other crew member has been impaled. His name is Owen, I believe. Owens, but is still alive. But obviously he's dying. And earlier we had the thing where Fry, I'll call her Fry because that's the first name that they call her by in the film, so I wrote that down, was like going to basically kill all the passengers by releasing their thing to save her, and I guess Owens is his name, and then they argue about it, so he's dead, he's dying. Everything is destroyed, and they're stranded on a desert planet. Shaza, who is played by Claudia Black, a.k.a. Chloe Fraser from the Uncharted games, is one of the passengers. She's the Australian woman.
Okay.
You've seen her in that PSX video about the 10th anniversary of Uncharted.
Yeah. Well, also, William J. Johns there, the character, is played by Cole Hauser, who's the bad guy in Fast and Furious 2.
Yep, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious. I didn't know that until my girlfriend pointed out to me, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that movie because it's bad.
I forgot there was a bad guy. She's one of the passengers, and this type of setup happens often in movies where shit hits the fan and everything is fucked, but they're alive. And in every single one of these situations, the immediate reactions is, blaming the pilot in this case, for the situation and this and that and fucked up, and then someone's like, well, they did save us, and like at least we were thankful to be alive. Here they skip to just everyone's like, thank you for saving us. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I would appreciate that, I guess. But obviously they're using this to juxtapose it immediately to the fact that she was going to actually kill them all, and Owen stopped her. So like it's supposed to be like, just slapping it in her face, like, yes, like, you are responsible for these people's lives, and they're talking to you about that right now. So, assessing the damages, there's a bunch of booze that this guy's name is Paris, this antiques dealer with glasses, this rich asshole dude. He has a bunch of booze in a sarcophagus. Riddick escapes by breaking his arms a good 7 times. One of the passengers was a rich dude named Paris, as I said.
Can we talk about that scene, by the way?
Of him breaking his arms?
Yeah.
Dislocating his shoulder?
Yeah.
Want to know a fast fact about that?
Yeah.
He fucking did that.
No way.
He did that. He did that himself. But apparently he did it as a goof, offset to the other crew members. And they're like, oh, this is how he can get out. Because we'll just do this on camera. But he had problems doing it with the cuffs. So they actually used like CG and special effects to just put cuffs around him. But that was actually him breaking his fucking arms and doing that in real life.
Bryn was like, that's super bad for you. Like, you can do it and you have to like know how to do it. But she says like you can get severe like ligament damage. Like you can like permanently fuck yourself up for life doing that. And I'm like, that's what I thought. I'm like, is it an animatronic? I'm like, no, it looks way too good to be an animatronic. And I'm like, is it CG? Because I know there's CG in this film. And I'm just like, what?
He broke his. You were so focused on his arms that you didn't notice that the cuffs were looking a little weird.
No, I was looking at his joints. I thought I was waiting for bone to split out.
Yeah, he did that. He did that in real life.
Look at that. Vin committed to the craft. Because there's something that. Sorry, one more thing. Because there's something that later that happens in the film that makes me think that, like, is he engineered in some way? Like, is he enhanced? Because we know his eyes are all messed up. But, like, the fact that, like, there's one point later on in the film that when we get there, I'll mention it, that I'm like, is he have some sort of, like, because he's talking about being an animal, he has heightened senses. Like, in that case, does he have other abilities that we don't know of that, like, physical abilities that, like, where he can, like, break a bone, but it isn't broken kind of thing. There's no, like, science behind it, but it just happens. And that was the first example in this film where I'm like, is that even possible? Like, to, like, do that?
Well, he did it.
I guess so. I guess it is.
Yeah. All right, so the group is going to search for water because they're on a desert before nightfall, and the sun sets.
Oh,
and what were you going to say?
I was also going to say, when he escaped, they did a quick jump, at least because I was watching the director's cut, and
same.
They're like when you get water, but they also like made it seem like, oh, he's out there, but they never explained like, or ever showed a scene of like them, the William or whatever going back to see that he's not there. Like they just did a huge cut, and I'm like, if wasn't like paying attention,
you wouldn't have noticed that.
Yeah, I've been like, did they know he's gone?
Actually, I looked up the differences between the theatrical and the director's cut, and it's a lot of little things where like they just cut this scene a little bit early, stuff like that. But there are 2 scenes that I think are important. They're in the director's cut, so I'll bring them up when we get there. But this was just part of the regular movie and the director's.
Like there, I was just like, I don't like the dialogue right now. And then this happens, and I was just like, like I'm kind of like the pacing's weird. And they're like, okay, we go get water now, but also watch out, he out there. Like, okay,
yeah, like
what? And I'm like, but they never really explained. Like I said, they didn't show anything. They showed him escaping, but they didn't show anyone finding out that he escaped. So then I was confused whether or not they were looking for him and water, or just looking for water,
or other survivors,
yeah,
or just civilization. It is. So they crash. They climb on top of the crash ship, and they look around and see that there's nothing. It's just all desert. This was filmed in Australia, in an area where there literally is nothing. There's a town nearby that has maybe 2,000 people at the most, and like anywhere. So I actually have a fact about someone that lives in that town during the filming of this movie. So they like, this is my weird, I don't want to say it's a problem I have, but a critique or maybe something I would like to have explained to me by someone that worked on the film. So the crew knows that there is nothing around. They can see nothing. So there is no necessarily like, oh, we'll head in that direction and search for people because we see buildings, or I know they find buildings later, but from where they are, they see nothing, right? So there isn't oh, well, obviously, Riddick is going to go there. So there's none of that. Riddick, I would imagine, knows this too. So why would he just run away? And then what would be the reason? Like, he's just going to come back and attack us. Like, wouldn't there be an end goal of like, listen, let's just work together or do something? Because if Riddick's end goal is to kill all of us, he dies. Because what's he going to do?
Until, yeah,
you know what I mean?
At least until they know they can find that one ship that we...
Right, which at
but
this
they
point,
don't. You
none
can't
of them
assume
know.
that. Yeah,
right.
You might be like
so
the only people on this planet. You know what I mean?
My thing is like, so is he? I mean, now granted, they do bring up he's deranged and he's crazy. So like, you know, if you were a psychotic killer, serial killer, and you land, you're on a prison vessel and you land on a deserted planet with, you know, the people or person that wanted to take you in for life of prison forever. And you were a crazy maniac, maybe you would just kill them all. So
call it a day, yeah. And then just be like, I only need to feed myself. So
it was a weird thought I had, I guess.
I do like the. I feel like it's a little like I would love to see this movie shot again, only because I did like the lighting ideas that they were messing with.
We'll get there in a second.
Okay, because the three suns there, I thought that was pretty dope.
They don't do enough of the three suns. Actually, there was going to be in the original draft a huge underground cavern system where Paris and I think his name is Abu, the main Muslim guy, were going to fall down in this cavern. They were going to see more about, like, I don't know if it was supposed to be like ancient alien civilization cave drawings or whatever. That was going to explain the solar system and the suns and the eclipse and all that stuff. Like a history of like, this happens, I guess, apparently every 22 years or, but this movie got changed like crazy several times. So we'll get to them as we get to them. But, as of right now, the group is going to search for water before nightfall. But wait, that's no moon. This planet has 3 suns. The new sun is blue, and the group heads in that direction, and now every shot from now on has a blue haze over it that is completely 2000. This is a Britney Spears album now. This is a Dreamcast commercial now. This is just culture.
This is Nirvana.
Before 9/11.
Nirvana, man.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just this blue light. It is
early 2000s, but I think it'd be cool if you did it now. Like, I feel like you can do it. That's why, like, after watching this movie, I'm like, man, I low-key want a remake just to see like the new cinematography we could do. Like, put like
this movie does so much like weird distortion effects and stuff that I wonder how hard it would be to make it look really good in 4K. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I feel like you would have to reshoot stuff.
Yeah. Tree? I am no tree. I just thought when he said the moon, it's not a moon.
I was trying to reference Star Wars.
Oh,
that's no moon.
Yeah.
That's no moon. The group is wary of Riddick attacking them, so they're all cautious and whatever. A small group is at the ship keeping watch. So we have Paris, we have Jack, we have Zeke, and we have Shaza. They're all there. The traveling group sees some trees. Trees? Trees means water. But wait, that's no trees. It's bones.
It's bones.
So we're at a giant communal graveyard, and everyone's looking around.
Like dinosaurs. Like, it was very dinosaur-like. But they did have, like, the tree, like, spines.
Yeah,
it was weird.
I wonder what those were. Maybe, like nerve endings?
I don't know. I'm like, that'd be cool.
Or like lungs?
Maybe that's where Jurassic World 3 takes place. It winds up...
Oh, man. I hope everyone that likes that movie gets stranded on a desert planet. Everyone's looking around, and Riddick is there hiding. He's just casually hiding in some bones. He's waiting to strike at Fry while she's talking to William, and he's like right behind her, and he's in the shadows because it's what Riddick does, and he's got this little stupid bone knife, and he's holding it real close to Fry as she's talking to William, and she's telling him, she basically opens up to William saying like, hey, I was gonna kill all of you, because like William asks like, what did he mean by don't pull that lever or whatever. As the resolution of this conversation happens, Fry is creepily hit on by both Riddick and William at once, even though she doesn't know Riddick is there. William does a thing where he like puts his hat on her, which is a very, I feel like that's like hitting on,
maybe
like,
not hitting on, but
thing.
Just very like, I own you, or like
way too close now.
You're like my pet. In a way,
yeah.
Maybe it's not romantic in any ways, but it's still like a power move for sure. It's definitely a power move.
Yeah, and Riddick slices off some hair and smells it.
Yeah, he's like, I could have killed you. Basically, that's how I interpreted that. Like,
weird.
It's a murder thing. You wouldn't understand.
I guess. The group then finds buildings. Buildings? Buildings mean people, but that's no people. It's abandoned. The group...
now we're just going to do the tree. Ain't no tree joke the entire time.
The group searches and finds that this place had water, and it now has a ship of some sort. It's a skiff, and it's basically an emergency vessel, as we learn later. Lots of weird abandoned buildings here. We cut back to the group by the crash site, and they think someone is sneaking up on them. But it's not a killer. It's another survivor from the crash, and when he shows up, I swear to Christ, I thought it was Dave Bautista. But then he dies immediately, so I'm like, oh, well, like, it's not Dave Bautista then. And his name is literally in the Amazon Prime Video, like, X-ray thing. His character is called Total Stranger. Like, there's no other Total Stranger, so, like, it wouldn't just be, like, Survivor or whatever. It's another survivor from the crash. Survivor? Another survivor needs more help. But that's no survivor. It's now a dead corpse because Zeke shoots him because he thinks he was Riddick, and then the camera zooms past him and we see Riddick lounging in a chair drinking liquor. And that was when I paused the movie and laughed like crazy.
That was great.
I sent you that.
I'm like, he's already being weird and had some funny lines, but then I'm just like, oh, so he's a troll. Like, he's straight up just messing with these guys, and he doesn't.
It's just like,
he has all the time in the world. He doesn't care.
It was just such a stupid zoom like cut to,
and also,
and he's just there drinking liquor.
And also I was confused too of whether or not like they saw him do that either, or is it just for the audience?
That was his like wink kind of thing, but it was
still good, but I just didn't know if
that's him clearly being like, these guys are morons and I'm gonna watch them all die, because that's the Riddick way. Zeke had been, and continues to, dig graves for all the dead passengers, and Riddick uses this as an opportunity to sneak up on him. But Zeke sees a small tunnel in his grave, which he did not make, and crawls in and gets attacked by some creature, which is horrifying. We then see the same shot of Shaza 4 times as she's running towards the grave, and she sees a bloody pulpy mess. Then looks up and she sees Riddick, and Riddick sees Shaza. And then Riddick runs, William sees Riddick, and Riddick is on the ground and sees William, and William knocks the cool shades off Riddick, and Riddick sees purple x-rays, then they knock him out, and Riddick sees nothing. It's a very fast scene where a lot of things happen. It's where we see like this, like I said, it's like a purple x-ray, or like UV light type thing going on. It's very interesting. As I type this, I get a notification on my phone reminding me that AMC desperately wants you to rent movies through their phone app, and I swiped that shit away. Fry enters the crashed ship and tries to talk to Riddick. He's all chained up now because he got caught again. We see a scene of Riddick saying how he got his eyes that way because he didn't kill Zeke.
What? You mean he didn't? He said that
we got. Sorry, I wrote this note. We get a scene of Riddick saying how he got his eyes that way, and how he didn't kill Zeke.
Yeah,
I don't know why I shortened that into one thing. Yeah, like, and then like Jack is there, and he's like, "Oh, so you can see in the dark," and he's like, "Yeah, it's right. I did it that way so I can see in the dark." And then he says, "That's a cute kid," as Jack runs away. And
cute kid.
In 2020, I'd be having concerns. The group goes to the gravesite, and Fry enters the tunnel and emerges into a chamber. This chamber has many exits, lots of pillars of light coming down, and one sneaky beast. William lets Riddick out to help them. There's this scene where they both say, "Oh, I could have killed you, but remember this moment." And Riddick gets the last laugh here. Is, I don't know, just dudes' toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
just comparing dicks. But Williams is an idiot, and he's an asshole, and he's got many problems going on, which we'll get to. They all gather stuff from the crash site and travel to the abandoned buildings. We get a shot of them traveling with a super duper distorted lens to make a circular effect where they're going from one side is, well, I guess from your side here, one side is all like the red sun area, and as they travel down now we're in the blue sun area, and I swear to Christ, this looks like the Sonic Adventure 2 box art on Dreamcast. Like, Google that shit right now and tell me that's not what that fucking shot was.
I think I know what you mean.
You have to type Dreamcast 2 because GameCube had a different one.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're trying to repair the ship now. We got the power turned on, and there is water running nearby, so they're not going to, die. But they also don't need any food, so I guess the clock is still ticking in that regard. Riddick explores the buildings. Yeah, I mean, just do what the monsters do: eat each other. Riddick explores the buildings, and some kids follow him, and the group takes a break. They surmise that the people that lived here died, and that one of the kids, Ali, is attacked by tiny pterodactyls, and then something bigger. Basically, it's the classic thing where, like, when someone is he's not back yet, where is he? And then, they find that he's dead. But there's all these little tiny, I guess, were they like baby versions of the monsters we see later?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're just baby ones.
Because they looked like tiny pterodactyls, because they were all just like silhouettes.
Has anyone checked the core room? That's what he says.
Yeah. After finding Ali's body, at least I assumed it was Ali's body, the group searches more buildings and finds a ton of skeletons, and it sounds like they died 22 years ago. Through an uncharted puzzle, we learn that they died during an eclipse. An eclipse means it's dark, but not just dark. It would be pitch black.
Like the movie title. Wow.
Yeah. Now William and Fry are talking on the ship, and William wants to fuck Riddick over, and Fry is unsure about what she wants to do. Basically, William is just like, yeah, he can continue to help us, but he knows he's a pilot, right? He's a pilot, and he's going to just steal the ship and leave us all for dead. So let's just make sure he has hope and then kill him before we actually leave, which I don't think would actually work. William leaves and sees Riddick. Riddick then enters the ship and talks to Fry alone, and is all creepy. He gets real close behind her. And he's like, Did you ask him about why his hand shakes? He's all up behind her. And he tells her that William is just a bounty hunter. He's not a cop, not a law enforcer. Not that that matters in real life. He's just a bounty hunter here for a paycheck, just like a cop. Also,
good cop.
We then get a scene where Fry confronts William, and we learn that he is a drug addict.
I mean, he literally does. Was it
morphine?
Morphine in the eye, which I didn't know you could.
2 fast facts about this scene.
Okay.
First off,
he actually did
putting it through the eye was the actor's suggestion about how he would do it.
I don't think it works like that. Like, I don't think
apparently he thinks that was. He thought that was cool, and so he was like, "What if I put it through my eye?"
I was just confused,
like, yes.
And I'm like, I think your eye would just get numb, or something. Like or would sting. It's the future, whatever. I guess.
This is also our first major differences between the theatrical and director's cut of the films.
Okay.
In the version we watched, the director's cut, she is like, "So you're a drug addict, and you could have used this to help Owen ease his suffering when he was dying by giving him painkillers. He would have died painlessly. Instead, he screamed to death, essentially." And Owen's like, "I need these because," and he pulls up his shirt and he has a scar, and he's like, because of Riddick. I don't know if he shot him or stabbed him and the tip of the knife broke off. I don't remember.
I remember he was saying they had like a piece of metal in there or something, and like
yeah, and it's like right up against the cord, I guess he called it, or something like that. And so he feels that, and this is to also help that. In the theatrical version, they don't talk about the scar or anything like that. He's literally just a drug addict. It is just presented like, no, he's a drug addict.
I think that's a good ad then. I think that adds a little bit more.
That's the first time where like there is a difference to the implications about the character then. Because there is then still doubt about him. Because in theatrically be like, okay, he is an asshole, as we've already surmised, and he's a drug addict. And here it's like, well, I guess he's got a reason.
Riddick is the good asshole in this movie, and then he's just the asshole who isn't funny. Like, Rick at least will make you laugh.
Exactly.
But William is just like, dude, like you talk so much shit and you talk down to everybody and you think you're funny. Like it has that kind of attitude to it where I'm just like, man, I would hate him in real life.
Toxic masculinity.
Not even that, just like you're a shitty human being. Like, fuck you. That's the kind of vibe. At least with Diesel, it'd be like, toxic masculinity, but I'd be like, but he's funny though.
William is a classic like assistant manager with a long ass tenure. That he's not going up and he's not going down.
Yeah, and he's been there for 15 years at this point. Yeah, and he's totally okay with that. Totally okay. But he also knows...
he takes it out on the part-timers.
Yeah. And Vin Diesel is the cool guy who's been there for like maybe 6 months.
Exactly.
He did the position elsewhere, but he comes in and he's like, hey. Yeah. Like we're all here. I mean, he's also the best,
a dick, but he's a dick, but he's got someone to have people hate more.
Yeah, exactly.
So now the planets are aligning, and their situation's starting to look a little bit more frightening. They get into a Sandcat, which is the name of the dune buggy, I guess, and it's all charged up by solar power. And they head back to the crash to grab the last few power cells they need to launch the ship, as well as any other supplies. So now, with the harsh sunlight, the color correcting of the film to make it all kind of red and very harsh, the long shots of the group in an open dune buggy driving through the desert, and a skinny, pasty, white, bald kid with tiny goggles on, you'd think we were watching some other kind of movie. I wonder what film that could have been.
Mad Max.
Maybe Mad Max, which is also Thunderdome, or maybe it was Road Warrior, was also filmed in the same desert that this movie was filmed in. So that's another fast fact. They reach the crash site, and time is ticking. Fucking Saturn is in the sky, and shit's about to go down. The eclipse is almost complete. It's getting real dark now, and flying monsters are out, and they're about to, and they're flying around, chasing them. They're running back to the crash ship to hide in it. Riddick and Shaza are on the ground, and Riddick isn't. I know we just like humanized him by comparing him to like the new assistant manager, and he's a dick and all that stuff. But like, he is a shitty person, and I really don't like. I love Vin Diesel. I love the films that I have seen with him in it. Sometimes. Not ironically, but not seriously like it. I just like it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, he has, from this point onwards, the same kind of character in every movie, at least that we've seen, notably Fast and Furious. And one of the things about Fast and Furious, about the character that I don't like, is that he has no growth. He is the sage. He has a wise thing to retort to everyone when someone makes a mistake. He's the
also
smartest
killed people
motherfucker.
and but yet he acts like he's a evangelical human,
right? Exactly.
I'm always repenting my sin and but
exactly.
But you never show it at all either.
And I really don't like the fact that they refuse to have that character grow in Fast and Furious. And a lot of that stuff is also here in Chronicles of Riddick. Obviously, I don't care about his growth. He does grow a little bit in the movie, as we see towards the end. I guess at the very, very end. But throughout this movie, he has that, I'm the smartest person here, but I keep it to myself until I have it to say when someone fucks up.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this, I don't care about anyone, but I also don't need to intentionally fuck anyone over. So why in scenes like this wouldn't he just be like, hey, stay down, don't get up, to Shaza?
Yeah,
because she gets up, she runs, and then the monsters rip her in half,
which was cool, by the way.
It was. I mean, it's insane. That's like, I wanted to get my Riddick beef done now, because like I really didn't like the character at all, and I really hated scenes where like, even towards the end where Fry has her big, no, you listen to me, and then it's actually no, but it's him doing the wise sage thing back again at her. You know what I mean? It's still like, I kind of like how a lot of these action stars like Vin Diesel and The Rock have requirements for how many fights they lose and how many that they need to win. It almost feels like no, I need to be the one telling people things, kind of stuff. But I don't know if you feel the same way about that as I do.
I mean, up until this point in this movie, like, I've just learned to accept that this movie has issues with characters and like whether or not I should give a shit. Like, up until this point in the movie, pretty much everyone's an asshole, or either that or just bystanders. Yeah. Sorry.
It's hard to tell how many people are alive.
Yeah, and then like
until
most
we
of
get
them
to
are kids, and like most kids are killed off, which I thought was not cool, but like just different. Like usually in these horror movies, the kids survive. You know what I mean? Or
the
like,
most innocent people.
Maybe one of them gets injured, but like they're like, no, all the kids are picked off. Like I'm like, it's probably how animals would work. You know what I mean? Animals would probably pick off the youngest,
the weaker prey.
Yeah, easier prey. Yeah. So I thought that was cool, but up until this point, but Vin Diesel's character, like I totally get what you're saying, but at the same time, I just didn't care. Like I was just like, I'm in this movie right now for the one-liners Vin is saying, and like the cool stunts maybe he'll do, or like anything like that. And granted, there isn't that many stunts in this, or as close to like Fast and Furious, but I at this point in the film, I was just like, I like this movie's bad at this point, and I'm just like, I'm only in this right now because Vin, and I do like some of these other actors in it and other stuff, but not in this film. I'm like, at this point, to me, Vin is the only thing carrying this film right now.
So I will drop a fact here now, and as I explain my next point. Throughout this film, now first off, this film is called Pitch Black, not called The Chronicles of Riddick Pitch Black.
Yeah.
There's a good reason for that. It's because this was only just going to be a one-and-done film. During the filming of this movie, they realized that they kind of liked and were curious about the character Riddick, and so they decided that he wasn't going to die at the end of the film like they originally wanted. During filming, they changed it so that he would live, so that they could make a sequel.
Because I thought how the movie
you could argue
was that
you could argue he's not the main character.
He is, like, you're talking about character growth. Like, I feel like the only way like this movie could have ended, like if you're just doing a standalone thing, where his character grows, is if he sacrifices himself and lets everyone else get on the ship.
And he doesn't get that. Fry gets that. Carolyn Fry gets that.
And so, like, she's not a bad character. Like, I don't think she's a bad person based off what we've seen.
She is a completely good person, except for the fact at the beginning of the movie that she was willing to sacrifice other people so that she could live.
Which I guess
other than that,
I could argue is kind of fair, though, in this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
this could be, if you want to get religious, some sort of purgatory type of, because of you wanted to do that. Maybe they all died, and then her purgatory is reliving the results of it or something. But yeah, I mean, like, this film's focus is not on him, is not on Riddick. It's on her for the most part. And it's on classic horror survival type movie stuff where it's like the survivors trying to get to safety or away from danger or whatever. So then it's like he's like kind of in here and becoming this wise sage asshole type person always kind of struck me wrong, because I'm like, he's supposed to be the star of this series. And then when I learned later, no, he wasn't. He was just, this was a one and done film. I'm like, this makes a bit more sense now.
Yeah.
I understand this movie more. I understand it now.
I was going to say,
I get what you're saying, how like, it's a bad movie and you don't really care about anything. I'm like, yeah, if I think about it, if it was a one and done film, you are totally right that way. Like, But sorry, go on.
I was gonna say one last thing though. I will say from this point onwards, I'm glad we kind of stopped here to discuss how we're feeling. From this point onwards, I like the movie more because
really
it becomes a, like you said, classic horror survivor thing, and I'm like, there's a recipe to that, and not saying this movie is amazing because of this, the second half of this film, but it just changes tone and it becomes less about the characters the characters aren't trust each other still, but it's less about, like you said, or she's supposed to be growing, but then it just turns into well, fuck all our differences and we're just gonna try to survive. And I guess the build up wasn't great for us to care about these characters because like I said, I don't care about these characters. I was just hoping Vin would do the right thing. And that's pretty much it. And but I was more excited about okay, they're gonna fight these monsters and have to figure it out how they're gonna do that. And I thought that was cool from someone who loves monster movies. And this reminded me a lot of Aliens or any of the Predator films. Where they're okay,
weird tie into Aliens. Even though David Toohey isn't credited for Alien 3 anywhere that I've seen,
he's
somewhere I've read that the desert prison planet thing was his idea or something weird.
Huh.
I don't get it though.
Maybe he was a first early script or something like that.
Alien 3 extremely underrated and secretly better than Aliens.
It's not though.
That's in my opinion.
No, that's one of your worst takes I've ever heard. But that's okay. But everyone has their one worst take, and I think that's yours. So that's a good one to do.
I really like Alien 3.
But yeah, it had that vibe to it after this point, and I wind up enjoying the movie towards the end because of how silly but fun it got. As the first half, I'm they could have done something. Like I said, they could have scrapped that whole thing and just did it differently. Maybe they encounter the monsters earlier, make this whole Vin is hunting everybody thing. Just go I want them to crash. I want to get dark.
That's how they set it up. Is they set up that he is the Jason, you know what I mean? The Jason Voorhees hunting all the camp counselors.
Yeah.
And then it's no, now he is the one saving them all, which is cool. Since we're already talking about the movie as a whole, why don't I give you a couple more facts about the distances between I forgot another theatrical and director's cut thing. I'll get to that in a second. This film had a lot of changes in its script in the original drafts and stuff. In the original draft, Riddick wasn't a man. She was a woman named Tara.
Okay.
The movie was called Nightfall, and she was a tribal woman, and it was the same kind of similar thing of they crash land and they're on this place. She was supposed to be a barbarian instead of he's a criminal, but the same kind of animalistic things. You just put it on this person that's grown outside of society, I guess.
Okay.
That's how we consider barbarians. I guess that's literally the definition of what a barbarian is: an unsociety, savage, feral person. And instead of monsters, it was going to be ghosts.
Okay.
Ghosts of an ancient civilization of aliens that died because of this eclipse stuff. And there was going to be a lot more to
the Final Fantasy Spirits Within, which hasn't come out yet, but
spoiler if we watched that in the past, but you'll see it in the future. The monsters were going to be ghosts, and instead of
we can still do this movie. It's far enough away. You can do the same exact plot. We could freaking just do this again. And like I said, with new cinematography, it could look visually cool.
Alternate universe Riddick. I mean, you could just call it Tara. I forget what the last name they said was.
That'd be cool.
Nightfall.
It's called Nightfall. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I already can see a trailer in my head.
Yeah. Have Vin Diesel be a cameo in there just to be you know. Also, the big third act, hope for survival, instead of being a ship to then let them leave, it is a distress beacon that they are going to activate to call for help, which would have completely changed the flow of the movie, because then you have
a
part where they are waiting.
Yeah.
Potentially for nothing, but that was very early. And I guess one more fast fact before I talk about the director's cut difference. Vin Diesel was wearing contacts. I guess I'll give you two fast facts. Vin Diesel was wearing contacts, which were so painful to take off that they had trouble taking them off the first time on set.
Vin is putting his body on the line for this film. I respect that, dude.
Yep. They couldn't get them off.
Well, how did
they had to call an optometrist from that town I was mentioning. Oh. They flew her in to save Vin's eyes.
What is this movie? Why does this have such a weird, like...
Now, knowing all this, would it shock you that they then sold those contacts? Mm-hmm. You could buy... They're called Shine Job. A company called Lens Quest sold them very briefly. And it was, like, actually, like, themed after this movie. You could buy those contacts. I'm sure it was a better version that didn't stick to your eyeballs permanently, but... Yeah, they literally had to like. This budget was $22 million. I guarantee $1 million was the flight for the optometrist. We need you in right now. You know.
So Vin, I'm just imagining all this happening within like a week too. Like
65 days of filming.
Okay, so like it could easily have been a week where he's like, okay, we're gonna do the shoulder thing. I'm also claustrophobic, and my eyes are permanently damaged, possibly. From these dumb contacts you're making me wear. Because you can't just put CGI in my eyes and call it a day.
Right.
Oh, my Lord.
It honestly would have looked very bad if they CG'd.
I know, but I'm like, if you wanted to play it safe after the first time.
Or you know what? Just make better contacts. You know? Ones that don't permanently stick to his eyes.
Jesus Christ.
He was probably dumb and took a nap with them on. Because that's how I've always had mine stick to my eyes. Not that painful.
I've never worn
to take
contacts.
Off, but
I have no idea how it even
feels. If you sleep, so like your eyelids are porous, and oxygen can seep through your eyelids to reach your eye because the fronts of your eyeballs don't have veins reaching towards them, so they have no way of getting oxygen. They get it directly from the air.
Gotcha.
So if your eyelids are porous, air goes through. Contacts are also porous, so that's how they also work. But if you have your eyes closed, it's hard for oxygen to get through, so your eyes receive less oxygen, and therefore your contacts stick to your eyes. And I've woken up a couple times looking like a zombie. But it was only from naps, never a full 8 hours.
Well, I'm gonna give Vin more credit then in this film. I mean, I like I said, I'm only in this movie right now because of Vin. Like, if it was,
I would have never watched this movie without this podcast.
Well, I don't know about that, but just like, what's keeping me afloat in this movie from like being like whatever, like tuning out, is Vin Diesel, and then the second half of like, okay, the monsters are out finally, and like that is the biggest enemy. It doesn't really matter.
Hammerhead shark pterodactyls.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get back to the film. So the eclipse is now complete, and
what if the whole movie was black? Like
that's what I was thinking at first, because pitch black. And guess what? Exactly 1 hour into the film, it goes pitch black.
Huh.
This happens 1 hour into the film.
Exactly on the
dot.
It
goes pitch black. Yeah. Exactly. 100%.
So if I did the whole day, remember those memes for New Year's? So if I watch Pitch Black, the director's cut at 11 p.m., it'll turn pitch black at midnight, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to do that. We'll have to try it out.
The eclipse is now complete. Riddick gets a stupid one-liner, which I didn't write down, so I don't know what it was. And the group is... Oh, it was like, you still think I'm the one to fear, or something like that, whatever. You actually have the quote written down, don't you? It's the one you said, didn't you?
You've got it all wrong. That one?
Now it's the one where he said, like I told you, it ain't me you gotta worry about.
There's so many ones that I missed. I missed a couple. I just wrote ones that I just thought were funny or whatever.
Anyways, the group is now inside the crash ship. And as we were saying, it's now a normal horror movie, and we get all of the beats. We get the one guy that's too scared and risks the group's life. Mm-hmm. We get another kid killed because he wasn't listening to Riddick. And we get the action hero shooting the monsters, but it doesn't quite work the way he wants.
And you have Riddick who just is saying, like, oh, you still believe in God now? Like, dude, like, not the time. Like,
not the time.
Yeah, like,
oh, I believe in God. I believe he's a fucking asshole.
Or it was like,
says.
I absolutely believe in God.
And I hate the motherfucker.
And I hate the motherfucker, whatever.
Speaking about the word motherfucker, when Riddick first escapes in the beginning, and what's his name? Williams picks up the shackles that are on the sand. In the movie, he looks up and just goes, and like you have no idea what he's saying. But I had subtitles on for Amazon, and he says apparently motherfucker, but he just
Like he just mumbles it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, but jumping forward, yes, a kid is eaten inside the ship because there's a couple are inside. But at least this does the classic monster movie thing where the monsters fear the light. And I actually like this.
Same.
This is one of those tropes, and I say this is not in a mean way, that is so old that everything avoids it and tries to work around it, so that in current day, when we do get monsters and demons or ghosts or whatever are hurt by light, I actually think that's really cool. I actually think
that's what I'm saying. Like everyone, like a lot of modern vampire films are like, oh, they just don't go out in light because they don't like it. Or in the Twilight series, it's like they're bright. You know, that's like it doesn't kill them, but they're super bright. But like I've always liked that about modern vampires, or not modern vampires, classic vampire stories. Is like, yeah, they're hurt by light because they're just evil. Like I just like that idea of just, and it makes it more scary. Like, okay, you have a time to breathe. You know, like in the morning, but then like, oh, looming in the shadows is Dracula,
right, yeah,
like that's cool to me.
Exactly. I remember Final Fantasy 15 came out 2016, and that was that. Like there were demons, and they could only be out at night because the light hurts them. And so when you get later in the game, and the big plot is they blot out the sun so that they can now take over the world. It's like I actually like a very basic thing. This is a very basic trope to put in movies. Light hurts the bad guys, and if you use it really well, then it's cool. And I think they use it well in this movie.
I have no like problem with the monsters themselves. They don't really explain it, and I'm totally okay with that. All we know is that light kills them, and they've live underground.
Nothing's taken them out.
That's like how Tremors works. Like if you've ever seen the first Tremors, that movie's great because they never really explain it. All they know is you're like, there's these giant worms in the ground, and we can't go on the ground, and then that's it. Like the floor is lava. Yeah. So I think it was
just like the hit Netflix show.
Yeah.
The group tries to formulate a plan, and they come up with the notion to stay put. But that's a dumb idea, and they know it. So they decide to run miles in the dark, carrying heavy objects while the sky is swarmed with monsters. That's smarter, right? They got lots of light sources, though. So now they're dragging a bunch of LED light strips that some losers out there think is cool to put inside a computer. It's just so many
dude, you never been to a
tubes
rave,
of light. Dude, like... Some guy's like, I'm going to cram that inside my tiny computer box. It's going to be so cool. So they got all this stuff there all around this this sled, basically, that has the power cells that they need, maybe other supplies. And they all are wrapped around this blue light tube. And they also have the cutting torch, which is that a real thing?
Yeah. Those are the real things.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, this is sci-fi, but I'm like, I've never heard someone call it a cutting torch.
I think it's a blowtorch kind of thing, where if it's hot enough,
I guess we would just call it...
I don't know if it can, like, sear
it's
through
not a welding
metal,
torch.
But, like, I'm assuming in the future that it's the flame's hotter or something.
Remember in Lara Croft Tomb Raider when they stole her disc from her mansion while she was blowing up her cars? Yeah. They used this exact same one from this movie. That's a scoop that you're going to get right now.
Wait,
they use this
exact same one.
Kidding,
exact same
kidding.
prop? Wait, oh.
Kidding.
I believed you. I'm like, sure, why not? Around the same time period, sure.
Yeah, not wrong. Different companies, though. So now, yeah, they're dragging a sled, and they're all around it. They're dragging this sled while the backing sounds to Africa by Toto plays. I swear, this is just that soundscape playing. This doesn't hit with you, I see.
No, it's...
The drummer for the band, Sting, wrote the music for the Spyro the Dragon games, and this also sounds like that. So heads up. Around the same time.
Around the same time.
A scuffle, and the fucking rich guy ruins it all. He's like, one of the things flies by briefly, and he's like, I don't want to be here right now, and he's wrapped up, and he's just crawling away, and he breaks the whole thing. He breaks the power source that lit up all the tubes.
When this was happening, I told Brandon, like, one of them has a gun, I would have shot him. Be like, sorry. I'm not, that guy running away, I'm going to kill him and take the chance. Like, you guys can call me a murderer, but, like...
He was a murderer.
Basically.
That was him. No, he was, yes. And then we get the scene where... Earlier he was like, well, anything over 40 proof can burn. I got all this alcohol, so we can use that too. I was actually kind of hoping they would do more Molotov cocktails type of stuff, but whatever. But yeah, he's like, it is, I guess, ironic now that I know his name is Paris, that he was supposed to die in France and he's never been to France. And then he takes a swig and then blows it through the fire, and we see all the things around him.
I thought that was cool.
Then they swarm him.
That was cool.
And Riddick sees the whole thing.
But Riddick doesn't care. He's like, I've seen blood,
I've seen blood. I am blood.
I am the bloods.
So with the light strips gone, the group is now burning that alcohol, and they argue, and there's a dumb gender reveal where everyone's supposed to be like, why did you lie to us, little kid that we don't know anything about, that we don't even know if you ever said you were a boy, but now we're upset that you're not a boy?
But they were.
It was weird that it was set up like that. I think they were upset about
that. Like, it's basically, she's on her period.
She was bit. I don't think it was supposed to be that. I think she was scratched.
No, I thought it was on her period. I'm pretty sure. Because they said,
really?
Oh, they can smell blood. And then Vin's the only one who's like, yeah, I can smell it too. And everyone looks at her. I'm pretty sure it's her period. I'm pretty sure. But that's why they were shocked. I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was just shocked because Vin was being vague about her. No, I don't mean her. I mean her.
Well, so
I thought she was just
that's
like
the thing. I mean her. Like, they're like, wait, I thought it was a he.
And also, I mean, her voice wasn't young
kid.
Boyish.
Young boys, dude.
Whatever.
That's how I interpreted the scene.
Well, now that you know when he said I can smell the blood and it's period blood, I'm like, that's disgusting that he would say that.
Well, he didn't say that verbatim, but you don't like.
Well, the implication I smelled your period is gross in and of itself.
Now I gotta look this up. Keep going though. I'm gonna look up to see if.
What are you looking up?
I'm just gonna look at the plot synopsis here. See if it mentions it.
William is also an asshole. He's a big asshole. As the group moves on, Riddick and William are further ahead and bond over the idea of killing the kid and using her as bait. But it's all a game to Riddick. He just wants to kill William and use him as the bait. Then they fight to the death. And it's a pretty dumb fight, but again, we gotta make sure each person gets a scene where it looks like they're gonna win before we get to the part where actually Vin Diesel does win in the end. And they get the stupid one-liners back and forth, and Vin, before he kills or before the dude dies, gets to be you're supposed to stay in the light, and he also gets to call back to a snappy one-liner they said earlier. It's all of the fight scenes to the death to ropes, but whatever. Moving on, they run for the monsters and head towards the ship. Lots of action stuff. We lose another kid, and it's just Riddick, Fry, Abu, and Jack left. So we got 4 people left. They hide in a cave while Riddick heads towards the ship. He's just pulling those power cells all on his own while they're in the cave, and they're like, why didn't he come in? And there's like, questioning, is he going to just leave us because we know he's a pilot and he can leave?
I forgot to say one last thing with that fight that Riddick has, the hand-to-hand fight. So like when I was talking about earlier how like he dislocated his shoulders, where I'm like, yep. Oh, maybe he has other abilities we don't know of. There's like a scene where it looks like his elbow breaks or something, and he like snaps it in place or something. Like it's a weird.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, and he doesn't like flinch about it. So I'm like, does he have like some sort of not powers, but just like physical attributes that other people don't have, where like he could break something and it's not like as bad. You know what I mean? Or like he's like double jointed in places people aren't. Like you can't bend your elbow and put it back in place. You'd have to get surgery done.
So like, they'll bring up his past in the sequel, but also keep in mind again they never planned a sequel for this. This was supposed to be a one-off. So maybe he is just a dude that just has fucking eyes that he fucked up on purpose. I don't know.
And also, according to Wikipedia, it says that after Riddick reveals to the group Jack is actually female, and the scent of her blood is drawing the most attention from the creatures. That's all it says. I don't know if that... I could have sworn it was reference to period, though.
I could have sworn that she was just slashed by one of them.
But I didn't see nothing. That's why I was just like, it's got to be... The only thing I can think of is that.
Yeah.
If everyone knows or like can correct
David
us...
David
Toohey. Also, yeah, tweet us. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you're confused too, please verify or tell us if we're wrong, because we could be.
And hey, tell us if this doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's very important.
Let us know. So Fry, Abu, and Jack are all in the cave while Riddick is heading towards the ship with the power cells. The cave crew fill a bottle of Jack Daniels with glow bugs that are extremely bad props. They animate a couple of them when they're really close to the camera, and then when they're crammed into the bottle, from then on, the bottle itself just glows blue, as if there is no shapes inside of it.
I didn't even pay attention that much to like.
I was.
I was like, you should eat them. That's the first thing I would do, just eat them. Because they look like they would taste like blue raspberry, like flavor, like a gusher.
The best flavor of hard candy is always blue raspberry. Yes. Riddick powers on the ship. He's gonna leave him because he's an asshole. Your fun assistant manager is gonna leave you for dead. Fry is able to get to the ship with that glowing bug bottle of Jack Daniels and tries to convince Riddick to help her get the others to the ship. But Riddick is going to leave them right then and there. Either she comes with him or she stays on the planet to die. And this is that scene I mentioned earlier where they do a tussle, but obviously Riddick isn't going to let a woman.
Even in this situation, I know you're like out of desperation, but like she tries attacking him with nothing. Just like, I'm going to bear grab you, and like...
he would snap her in half.
Yeah, I'm just like, I would never, ever... Like, even though I'm like, he could leave us here, and like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to take... Like, no, I'm just going to die here with them because fuck you. Like, whatever, but... If you're to attack him, at least grab a weapon or something, or... It was very weird. Just like, why would you just... Because he, like you said, just can snap her to a twig and like, it'd be over. He's murdered people. He wouldn't hesitate. He just said, I will leave you here to die.
Yeah, but she knows he has an interest in her to some degree. But at the same time, like, he's willing to just let them all die. But again, this is my thing of like apathy with this character that this character has towards things, where like you could have done something with little to no risk of your own and they die because of it. Like with Shaza, little to no risk, be like, hey, just stay down, please. And then maybe if she doesn't listen, that's on her. But at least you would have done something that wouldn't have risked yourself.
Maybe he tries to grab her and she pushes him away, and then like, so he's like, okay, like I tried to help you, and then she gets eaten. You know what I mean? Like it could have been something like that.
I forgot the one other director's cut difference between the theatrical. This was way early in the movie. This is before the eclipse. This is when they all think that he killed Zeke, and it's Claudia Black's character Shaza, just the one that's accusing him. And then when after the cave thing where Fry's attacked by the monster and we know it wasn't him, she tries to apologize to Riddick by giving him like a respirator. One of the things to help, because they mentioned briefly that the atmosphere is a little bit weirder and it's harder to breathe. They could still breathe, obviously, but like these things help a bit.
Drier, you know.
Yeah. It sounds like they have to use twice as much effort. She gives him a respirator, and he's like, "Oh, it's broken." He's like, "No, it has still a few more hits." That's supposed to be her apologizing to him in a way for the accusation. That was cut in the theatrical.
Okay.
So
I mean, yeah, that scene was kind of like whatever. He was just being an ass.
But at the same time, like all the other cuts to the director's cut to make the theatrical were all extremely non-important. They're like random lines cut or like scenes just shortened by a hair. Because it's only like 6 minutes longer, the director's cut. This is a different of opinion of the character because of the differences between these two. You know, it's whatever. Yeah. I was trying to find differences and I only found those two. But going back now, they're Fry and Riddick and the fight and all that stuff. Again, little to no risk of his own would be just to stay there and wait. If they die, then they die. But at least you wait. That whole area is bathed in light, and we get no sense that they're actually in danger when they're standing there. So just wait. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's another time limit. It's not like, you know, something's going to happen to him if he stays. Just stay. That's like purposely being an asshole through apathy.
And then he tries to like you said, basically not in a way like validating himself. He's like, oh, you can stay. He's like, and have no guilt. Like, basically being like, be like me. Like you said, words of wisdom coming from him, a murderer, who's like, just leave him, let him die. Like, she's like, I can't do that, like, morally, and he's like, yeah, you can. I'm doing it right now. Like,
as if to almost kind of abstain himself from any sort of guilt.
Yeah, and like
by having someone else.
What he could have said
him.
was like, "Oh, you mean like earlier when you try to kill all of us to save yourself? Now you can't do it." Yeah. Like,
that's what they were trying to.
But they could have said it. I think they could have been more upfront with that. Just go straight to the punch instead of like. Because now I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, oh, maybe I guess that's what they're trying to do with it. But like, I think they could have executed it better if they just went straight to the punch. But he could have that could have been his witty comment, but like, you tried to kill all of us.
Yeah, yes, I am doing what you wanted to do at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, and now
tell
you're
me
backtracking. Like,
yeah, but again, that's the character growth she's supposed to have.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't think super works well because we don't get any other instances of her not being an altruistic person besides just the lizard brain survival instinct she had of being like, I will die if I don't pull this lever.
Yeah.
In this, I have 70 seconds to land this plane. I'm about to die. You know what I mean? Pull the lever. So like, maybe that's just me like helping her not have any blame. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like she says she's doesn't care about any of them when they're on the planet, but whatever. But like you said, she tries to bear grab him and like she mounts him and she says, no, you listen to me. You're going to help him because blah, 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 blah. And then he flips her over and he gets on top and he tries to be this wise sage and be like, would you die for them? But like not in like a snarky way of like being like again, a wise sage asking a rhetorical question to make you think when he is just trying to leave.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird for me, but
I just think I was trying to like he's a lot like William where like there's like you said toxic masculinity where it's just like it's a power thing where he's just like I could have left already. I could have just punched her face in. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be he thinks this is him being nice and just being like now he's just like playing with her emotions just going like you said, would you die for them? Basically saying like I wouldn't because I'm an outcast, but you know that's your own fault.
Similar scene earlier. You were looking up the period thing while I talked through the fight scene with him and William, because William was like, "Oh, I'll stop them from stopping you from killing Jack, so then we can drag her body maybe 50 meters behind us to keep us safe, to keep the animals on the blood." Instead of attacking us because there's fresh meat behind him. He's like, oh, yeah. What if we had a bigger payload or whatever, a bigger body? He means, William? And they fight to the death. And then when Riddick goes back to the group of 3 other people, Jack is like really distraught about it. And again, just like the have no apathy, but yeah, I'm going to be a wise sage to you moment. He goes, don't you cry for Johns. Don't you dare cry.
Even if, like, yeah, he might be a shitty person.
But he doesn't care because
you're allowed to have emotions.
5 seconds later, he's going to kill her. He's going to leave her for dead. What does he care? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying.
And that goes back to the whole, like you said, a power thing where he's just playing with their emotions. Like, even if she hated him, William, she's allowed to be upset that, like, oh, everyone is dying. Like, it's a human emotion to be like, fuck. Like... Just because it's not someone I know or don't like
doesn't mean... The group is curbing on each other.
Yeah, like, I could not hate a person, but, like, dislike a person. But if they died, I'd probably still feel
murdered.
Guilt or bad. I'd be like, well, that sucks. Yeah. Like, they didn't deserve to die.
Or even just, like, that could happen to me or someone I like.
Yeah, so it's all a power thing.
Don't you dare cry for Johns. Fuck you, Riddick. You're gonna leave that kid to death. It's no different than what Johns was gonna do to her. You know? But anyway,
they go back.
Fry and Riddick have a stupid fight, and Riddick agrees to help get the others, and they do.
They get
they get got. They go back. Riddick gets into a fight with the monsters, and Fry goes back to him. She gets him, but she is taken by a monster.
I do like that scene where like he because like throughout the film, he kind of like he's learning about the monsters. Like he has that animal sense where he can learn weaknesses on other things or people or creatures.
Like, oh, he finds a blind spot one time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In that scene there, he's like standing right in front of it, the monster, and just kind of like moving with it. At first, I was like, "What is he doing?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a blind spot." I'm like, "That's cool. I like that." Like he learned something that no one else would have.
Because they see through like motion, I guess. Because because light obviously hurts them, so they can't use light as a way of seeing. Yeah. He also, again, like you were saying, would have ripped her in half in the fight. He punches one of these things to death.
Yeah. Which is cool, but...
That's cool. No, don't get me wrong. Fry is taken by one of the monsters. And obviously, she came back for him because he was attacked and knocked down. And she's like, I said I died for them, but I'm not dying for you. And when she's taken away, which is fucking scary. It's just like, I'll throw you a bone here and say a positive thing about fucking Jurassic World, but that was a very scary moment when they all break out and the one pterodactyl takes a woman and just carries her away. I'm like, that would be horrifying to be that person.
Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic World?
Jurassic World. Not the Lost World, Jurassic World.
Okay. I haven't seen the first Jurassic World.
I only saw it in theaters, and I remember this. Yeah, it takes a woman, because there's a whole crowd of people running around. Yeah. One of them takes a woman, flies over the water, and then the big thing comes up and eats them both. Yep.
You're right.
How horrifying. She was swallowed whole, so she's being dissolved. Fuck that. And that's a fetish some people have. I don't get it.
What? Whatever. Actually, it's not surprising.
But yeah, she's dead, and he's like, die for me, you don't, whatever.
He says, you're supposed to die for them, not me. I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
She said, or he said to her as she's getting flown away. But like, basically, so I guess Vin is supposed to learn in this situation that like
that is the growth he has right then and there.
At the very last 10 minutes of this film, of like, because they could have left him. They could have left him to die. And maybe that's what the original script was, like you said earlier, that they planned a sequel, that maybe he was supposed to sacrifice himself.
Apparently, in the Tara version, like, everyone gets out.
Oh, that's lame.
In the Nightfall version, like, everyone lives except, I guess, her.
Oh. I want a movie like this where everyone just dies. They don't make it. Like, or like you said, like a beacon. Like, maybe the ship...
Oh, and it just never comes.
Or it never comes, or it does come, and it's too late.
You do a Saving Private Ryan... Just get to the beacon one by one. Or actually, they kind of do that in Rogue One, where it was a literal thing that they needed to turn off on the ground to let them send the signal.
Something like that. But I want it with monsters.
And they all die, and it's like, here's hope. And then no one comes, and the monsters just get them. Are there any movies where everyone does die?
Actually,
like that?
Have you seen The Descent?
Uh-uh.
It's one of my favorite horror movies. It's about, I think it was like mid-2000s film. A bunch of women are going... like on going on like
why did you do that?
No, I was like clearing my throat. Bunch of women go to out in the middle of the woods somewhere for like a women getaway thing where it's just all the girls, right? And they're all like in their mid-20s, but they all decide to go into this cave or whatever. And one of them is an expert cave diver. But long story short, everyone dies in that movie, kinda, except the main girl. Spoilers. Still recommend watching it because it's really fucking good. She like gets out, but she actually doesn't because it was all a hallucination, and she's still stuck in a cave at the end of the film. That's how the movie ends.
Oh, damn.
And you're just assuming that like, okay, everyone's dead. Like, but there's also another part of that movie that I think is really cool. And like, I didn't know I had claustrophobia until I saw that fucking film. Like, you have to watch that movie in the dark, and you get that full like uneasiness of just like feeling cramped, and it's one of my favorite horror movies.
I don't know if I have claustrophobia, but I have a phobia of being bound and not being able to move. And I realized this as a child when I'd be in the backseat of a car with a seatbelt on, and my mom would be like, you need to have a lot, like that kid from fucking Christmas Story, his younger brother with so many jackets on. that's what it felt like for me sitting in the back of this car, and I'm like, I can't move my arms too much, and I'm literally afraid. Like I had
a
panic attack. No, I'm into destroying people. My fetish is killing people,
like Diesel. Well, Riddick. Rather, but.
Speaking of Riddick boards the ship and gets out of there. And yeah, like I thought it was a cool, like, this would have been an action movie hero thing of like he starts to turn on the ship. I thought at first he was just testing it to see if it still worked, or like maybe we need to lightly lift off before we go up. Then he turns it off. We're like, why would he do that? Then you see all the things climb underneath the ship, and they're getting ready, and he's like, just say goodnight. And he turns it on, they all get blasted by the fire, and obviously the light hurts him, and he's just hitting through them all in the air as they fly off.
Even though What's-Her-Face just died. Like, I thought first he was like, no, we need to get her or something. I'm like, she's dead. Like, so. But he would have known that. You know what I mean? Like, he watched everyone die. Almost every character die. But
at the end, Jack asks Riddick what they will do when they bump into someone, and Riddick says, "Tell him I died." The end. That's the end of the movie.
What if he just said? So I guess said he's like, "Chewie, we're going home."
I guess to be fair, this movie ends in a way where we could assume that there would be no sequel, and if that was true, could end in a way where it'd be like, well, I guess we don't know if they ever live. Because that's I don't want to say it a complaint of the film, because this is super minor, but they make it seem as if they were on a highway, so to speak, a commercial lane. I think they call it a towing lane or something. That's when their ship, when it got knocked off the lane, they were getting back on the shipment lane. I think maybe they called it shipment lane. So they make it seem as if it is a thing that many other people use, and therefore would be a sense of population in space, as opposed to like I'm on the highway and there's other cars. Like, oh, you would see other ships.
Yeah.
But they never show any other ships, and they do make it seem as if they are out alone, nothing forever. And it's not like they're going into cryo sleep in an emergency lifeboat.
That's a good point. Like, do these ships, if they're in cryo sleep, that means that like they can't. I'm assuming they can't. Light speed
age,
or they can't.
Oh,
there's no ability to do that. But I mean, they easily could just write that in and be like, "Well, yeah, they could." But like, then I would just be like, "What was the whole point of going cryo sleep if you could just fast travel basically and not age?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I wish they made an Alien 5. Speaking about the cryo sleeps and the aging and all that, and time differences.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Movie's over.
Yeah.
Movie's over. I mean,
no after.
I guess we'll see in the sequel. I guess we'll see in the sequel in 2004 how Riddick lives, and maybe it will literally be like Aliens, where
he crashes onto another island or another planet.
Oh my, yeah, and then the two people he was with die. You know what I mean? And it's just him. Yeah, movie's over. I don't know. Nothing else to say.
So yeah,
I guess let's talk about just the film as a whole again. Any other thoughts about the film?
Like I said, the first half, scrap that shit, make it shorter, and give me more like monster survival horror. Like, I wouldn't say it was scary. I was never scared at moments. Maybe they could have made that scarier, but I'm totally okay with it just being they're overrun and they just need to keep moving kind of thing. I'm totally okay with that. Give me more of that, because that's when I was like back in the film. Like, I was like, I was excited for this film because like this is the Riddick. This is the name of our show, Chronicles of Diesel. I'm like, and I've always heard it was a cult thing that like, oh yeah, Chronicles of Riddick is cool and like whatnot, and like I was like, yes, let's get in this. I'm excited. And, like, I was genuinely excited, and then like the first 20 minutes happened. I'm like, oh no. No. No.
Again, I was expecting action hero type stuff. Yeah. I'm like, oh, this movie's boring.
Like, it's not, dialogue's weird. Bad. The only good dialogue is for Vin Diesel, which I'm like, okay.
It looks like a music video.
Yeah, and like it's a little dated, but like I'm like, whatever, I'll let it go. And then once, like I said, it went black and like the monsters coming out and all that, I think that was really cool. And then I enjoyed the movie after that part. So like As one thing I say, if they make a remake, I think this movie would be a cool remake to do. I really do think that, like, I'm not like a big fan of remakes generally, unless there's a reason why you're doing it besides just better visuals.
Like a video game we played recently.
Yeah. Give me a better like plot, but still have not a better plot, but just a better beginning. Like I think if the beginning was more solid and like you can still do the characters distrusting themselves or each other like classic humans do.
Yeah.
But just give me the monsters. I think it would still be a fun film. Like I would like to see what they could do with like the Three Sons now with like cinematography. Like I'm not the biggest J.J. Abrams fan, but like a J.J. Abrams level.
He loves them lens flares.
He loves them lens flares. It'd be great for him.
Yeah.
JJ, if you're listening, dog.
Weird little, first off, I'll do you one better. You say you want to cut the first half in half.
Basically.
I want to cut both halves in half. Make this movie shorter all around. Because this movie was
minutes?
super long. This movie was was 2 hours almost.
Was it? I personally didn't feel it was that long for me personally.
It was an hour 50 minutes.
I felt what you call it was long. We talked about that last Boiler Room. I thought that movie was long. Like I'd watch this movie again before. Well, I guess that goes into our rankings. They're all long to me
because I have to pause them all the time. But
this goes into our rankings, I guess. But
yeah, weird. I don't want to call it a nitpick, just a confusion I had. So beginning of the movie, they're on the ship and the ship is functional and they're flying. Vin Diesel's awake and he's narrating and he's saying, "Oh, I smell a son of a woman, a prospector." He talks about the Muslims and there must be on some sort of, he calls it New Mecca. I think it was actually kind of cool that like the idea of religion expanding beyond Earth.
Yeah.
Not in the literal sense of there are now people on other planets that believe in the same thing, but like we've literally moved what the idea of Mecca is somewhere else.
Do you think
they call it New Mecca? I thought that was cool.
This movie came out in early 2000. Do you think if this movie came out in 2002, you would have Muslim?
Oh no! Or they would have been bad. When Islamophobia would have destroyed.
Like that's what I was happy. I'm like I knew like it was before 9/11, but I was kind of happy with like they never like Vin was being a dick
and they weren't like these guys are weirdos.
No, like no one ever.
Why are you not drinking the booze? You're weirdos. You know, it's like you're saying.
But the only one who was like critical was Vin, and like, but he's an asshole. Like, it could have been any religion. I think Vin would still been an asshole because he's just like a asshole atheist, where he has to tell everybody he's an atheist and like you're stupid if you believe in religion,
like most atheists.
Yeah. So like, I thought that was cool that they had that in there, and they, like you said, the New Mecca. I like that idea as a expanded in a broader galaxy or universe.
Yeah, and because like I feel like and maybe they do this in the sequels. We don't really know about the way the society works. You know what I mean? But like a lot of places, like no, Christianity is just everywhere, and like and who knows? Like they still talk about Earth as if that's a place that people live. You know what I mean? And like, oh yeah, like, I never went to France. I wanted to die in France. But anyway, in this beginning, as Riddick is talking about all the people that he thinks are there and what they're, and obviously visually we see that he's right about all these things. He says something about like. They're not prepared for what's about to happen or something like that. He says something to that effect of like, oh, what's going to happen? And then the ship, like I said at the beginning of the recap, is shot full of holes. My thinking is, someone's busting Riddick out. Obviously that didn't happen. And then later when they're like asking Fry, like what happened? She's like, a comet maybe, something. I'm like, what caused those were like bullet holes. What happened?
I think just little like pebbles, but like how do you see that? Like if they're that small, like I would imagine you'd be running into like an asteroid field
all the time.
Yeah, but I guess I'm okay with it. Like them not explaining it, doesn't like that kind of goes.
I was just confused. I was thinking one thing, and then when there was no setup of like, oh yeah, and then the people trying to bust Riddick out are here. Yeah. I didn't think. I'm like,
I didn't really. I
guess maybe I was just confused. Maybe I didn't see the fact that it was.
Maybe I just didn't care enough, or like I just accepted it. Like it doesn't really matter now at this point. They're on a planet. Like if that happened to like me and you, if we were on our way to California or something together, and like all of a sudden we're in a stranded island, I'd be like, there's many questions we can have of why it happened, but
fair. happened.
It happened, and we're here now. So like, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, but I totally get where you're coming from, though. Too. Like, there is, of course, your brain's gonna naturally be like, but why? Like, what? Yeah. So, but yeah, I wanted to say it looked like I'm guessing it was asteroids, like small little baby boys.
Asteroids are in space and meteors are in our atmosphere. Is that how it works?
Yes, asteroids float and like then they hit Earth and then they become meteors. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like lava and magma. It's like where it is, but it's the same thing regardless.
So I feel like the game Asteroid isn't accurate.
Fun fact about asteroids is that little triangle spaceship is why our GPSs have our triangle icon.
That's dope.
So the person that invented the GPS.
That was a great game. Asteroids is a great game. I had it on PS1. That was great.
Oh, through
the big pack there that had like a bunch of
Namco.
Had a bunch of other games on there. I forgot what it was called. It was so long ago, dude.
What did the box art look like?
It had a bunch of squares of like old games.
Okay, I'm trying to think who made Asteroids, because I guess it wasn't Namco. Namco had
it was old, dude.
7 PS1 collections of their arcade games, and if you line them all up, the box arts were literally NAMCO, the registered trademark logo, and then a period.
I don't
funny.
Remember.
I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Maybe it was Taito. I don't know. Which is owned by Square. Any other thoughts about the film before we go on and talk about Vin Diesel's performance and rank the movie?
I mean, like I said, I didn't like the first half. I not loved the second half, but I enjoyed the second half, and not just because Vin Diesel was in it. Like I liked Vin Diesel in the first half because that was the only thing that was keeping me going. So,
for me, I thought the movie was okay. I don't regret seeing it, obviously, because we're doing it for content. But I came in thinking it was going to be one way, and am ultimately disappointed that it wasn't that way. Maybe the sequels are the action hero type of thing. I would imagine.
I agree with that.
I would imagine. I don't have anything against horror anymore. I used to, because I used to be too scared as a little pussy. But I don't have anything against horror now. It's just not something I would seek out to enjoy unless someone's like, no, you need to watch this movie. It's starring Nicolas Cage. It's called Mandy. See the movie. And then I'm like, all right, that movie was awesome. But I wouldn't seek out this movie if I heard it was a horror movie.
Okay. I wouldn't even, honestly, I would not put, like, it had horror elements, but I would say it's a science fiction film first and foremost before it's ever, like,
okay.
Compared to like we were talking about Alien and Aliens, all those, like, those are horror films, I think.
In a science fiction setting.
Yes. When this is a science fiction film with
horror elements in its plot.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there's no jump scares. There was no.
I thought the movie was all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was. I don't think it's I don't think it's his best work. I don't think it's the best movie we've seen for this thing. So let's rank the movie itself, regardless of Vin. So to recap what our current rankings are, because we've watched 6 films so far, this being our 7th.
It's going to be crazy once we get to like 10. Like, it's going to be crazy. Especially when we get in the fast films. Bro,
where it's like our perception on the quality of a film is graded on a scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We love especially the later Fast and Furious movies, but like they're not as good as Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'd still probably put them up there.
Yeah.
Maybe
like,
I'm
that's what
predicting,
I'm like,
right?
As more we get into this list, the more I'm like, it's going to get complicated. We're not like,
right, like
the segment started off as like 10 minutes. It might turn into like a 25-30 minute thing later on.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll need to hire a third-party person to be a judge with a gavel, be like, silence.
I'm the
Devin, you speak. You got 3 seconds or 30 seconds to testify. Because I'm like, Fate of the Furious to me is a legitimately awesome film.
Yes.
Where I would, and again, this is like 30 episodes away, so I'm fine saying this now instead of being like, wait till we get to the episode. I could argue that being better than Saving Private Ryan in the sense of how awesome I thought the film was. But for the 6 films that we've seen so far, I'll rank them in order for you. We have number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, The Iron Giant. Number 3, Awakenings. number 4, Boiler Room, number 5, Multifacial, and number 6, Strays. If you haven't seen any of this film, audience member at home, any of these films, I recommend you at least check out our other episodes, or as we recap them as we did for this film here, and you can kind of get all of our thoughts about those films, because we're not going to recap every thought we've had about these films. Where do you think this belongs? I don't think it's number 1, and I don't think it's number 7.
Well, I was going to say, how I've been doing this to make it easier for me, because like I can kind of go back and forth, but I just go back to like, am I going to like, what are the chances of me watching this movie again? And like, that's the biggest indicator of whether or not like, you can like a movie and never see it again. Like, I joke that I've watched Blade Runner 2049 100 times. That's not true. I've actually watched it maybe 4 times fully, because it's such a long movie, but I do love that movie a lot. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But so I try to put that on a scale, like you were saying earlier. But for this movie, like with how much fun I had or at least the second half of the film, and I'm trying to put that in perspective with the other movies here, I would personally put it at 4th, above Boiler Room.
Really, above Boiler Room?
I don't think I'll watch Boiler Room ever again, or Multifacial, or Strays. Just on that level alone, like. Maybe you can make a debate for like it above or Boiler Room above it, but like in my personal preference, I'd rather watch this movie again before I watch Boiler Room, because Boiler Room I had interest like in rewatching again.
That's my debate right now. I definitely think it's better than Multifacial and Strays, and I definitely agree. I think Awakenings is better than Riddick. I wouldn't.
Are you saying a better film? I mean, like that's what I mean.
A better film. That's what this is. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know. But like, if I had to pick one to watch again, I probably would pick. That's like my tiebreaker. I feel like for me, it's just like, would I watch this? It's better if I'm watching it again.
I'm on the Boiler Room side of this. I wouldn't see either film again. I got obviously if you made me pick, I guess I would pick Boiler Room, but I wouldn't see either of them. But for me, the tiebreaker between the two is which do I think is a better made movie? Which do I think has something to say? Which I guess we can't really judge an action movie on what it has to say about people and things. Like, that's not fair, but like, to me, Boiler Room is a film I'd be more, I don't want to say proud of saying I watched, but like this was a cool film, and I recommend it as a cool thing about stuff that happens. Rather than Riddick is this is a dumb movie that you probably will enjoy aspects of it, and yeah, just go ahead and see it. I guess like for me, I would recommend Boiler Room over Riddick, but I'd recommend neither of them over Awakenings, Iron Giant, or Saving Private Ryan.
I'm totally okay with putting Boiler Room above it, just because it's just a personal preference thing. But I do think Boiler Room is a better movie. Now, the more I think about it, like you said, like it has more of a message. It has a better plot. Not a better plot. Not a better plot, but it had a start and an end that like felt right.
It had a start and an end, yeah.
When this movie just was very.
Now, this ranking is aside from Vin Diesel's acting. Yes. But I'd say overall, Boiler Room has better acting in it.
That's my other thing now. Like the more I'm thinking about
Ben Affleck was in that movie. You know what I mean? Like everyone's performances were really good in Boiler Room, and I'm not saying Riddick's acting was bad. Boiler Room's was just a lot better to me. And also, it has Ben Affleck in it.
I'm not like Ben Affleck isn't like the shit to me right now, but like I might change if I watch more Ben Affleck films. I have only seen like, honestly, I don't even know if I watched other Ben Affleck movies besides Boiler Room now that I think about it. Sorry.
We need to get you on some Kevin Smith movies. So then
I would put, that's fine. I'm totally, the more we talked about it, the only reason I put it above it at first is because like I said, I don't think I'd ever watch Boiler Room again before I watch, like if I had cable and Boiler Room is on TNT, and then Pitch Black is on Sci-Fi, I'm probably going to put Pitch Black on, my personal preference. But like you said, it's kind of hard to like compare a action sci-fi movie to a serious
There's nothing on the line for this rankings. It's not like this is the definitive
list.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is our opinions, and it's hard to rank, and it's for fun.
Yeah, I'm totally fine then. Yeah, so. I just like the more I think about I think I agree with you more now.
And again, thinking about the quality of the films, I do obviously still think that Awakenings is a better film than Boiler Room, because we're not changing up any of the other things. But I think it's a good quality, ranking. So
let me add that.
There you have it.
Adding that now too, just in case.
I'll just send you this document again if you really want.
I just have I have a little sticky notes here where I have it.
Okay,
so that's good.
But I will refresh the document in the Dropbox thing, so grab it later if you want. Number 1, there you have it, folks. Number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, The Iron Giant. Number 3, Awakenings. Number 4, Boiler Room. Number 5, Pitch Black. Number 6, Multifacial. And number 7, Strays. Now let's talk about Vin Diesel's performance in the film. How do you think he did? We're not ranking it quite yet, but how do you think he did? If you want, I can go first. I think that this is the Vin Diesel that we know and love.
Mm-hmm. This is what we're here for.
We know and love a 2-dimensional acting piece of cardboard named Vin Diesel, and I think that's what this was. I think it was a 2-dimensional character. I understand that Vin Diesel did not write the character, and he did not write all of his lines. Maybe some of it was improv, maybe most of it wasn't, maybe none of it was. So that isn't to say that he chose the things to say. He chose to say them how he said them, and he chose to emote the way he emoted them. And I don't think this was an exceptional performance by him. I have qualms with the character, and I understand that it was written that way. But at the same time, I can't divorce his performance of the choices the character made from him. So, to me, I'm not saying it's the worst. I mean, obviously, we have literally a non-film for him. Awakenings will always be bottom because he basically wasn't in that movie. But I don't know. This is hard for me because the other movies have genuinely good acting in some of them, and this feels such like a weird sidestep of it. Where I don't hate it. Again, I don't hate it. But it doesn't feel as 3-dimensional as some of the other stuff we've seen.
Well, how much is that?
Even ones that we have at the bottom.
Though. You know what I mean? Like, that goes back to what you're saying. It's his character, though. Right. Did he play a great 2-dimensional character? That is the question, then, that you have to ask yourself. And I will say this. I think, I'm trying not to put Fast and Furious in it yet, because we haven't seen that yet, but I just have a feeling I know where I'm going to put Fast and Furious later on. And I feel like this character that he was given is supposed to be a cocky, murderous asshole, which is basically like what Dom is in Fast and Furious, but way more grounded and like less. Like, he's sometimes a dick and he acts like he knows what he's talking about in Fast and Furious, but he's over the top in this film. And so, but at the same time, like you said, he didn't write this or whatnot. So I'm trying to keep that perspective. But the thing is, I think he did a great job of playing that character.
Sorry, I unplugged you for a second. You said you think he did a great job at doing that.
Doing what he was told to do. You know what I mean? And like whether or not I think this character is eerily similar to Dominic Toretto, but just in a different way.
Right.
How much is that Vin Diesel and how much is that
I can point to a couple scenes then to really look at the quality of his acting. The scene where Zeke shoots and kills the guy I thought was Dave Bautista, and then we zoom out to Riddick lounging on there. Again, I paused it and laughed because of how bad funny that part was, and I don't necessarily think that Vin Diesel emoted like I'm just watching them all kill each other type of cocky asshole like you're saying. I thought that was a very great of an acting. Maybe there were better takes, maybe there were worse takes.
I thought that was fine.
It's such a brief
I didn't
scene.
really think of like. I mean, I had I laughed because I thought that was cool. Like, I'm just like, I just think he did a great job of playing this character, and that's how I'm ranking it. Like, but I don't know where to put him yet. Still though, either. Like, I'm like, he did a great job.
Let's read off the list.
So we had.
Let's read off the list. Oh, sorry. Let's read off the list and see if maybe some of this jogs our memory, just like how much we realized Boiler Room wasn't actually a good movie. Our Vin Diesel performance ranking is as follows. Number 1, Boiler Room. Number 2, Multifacial. Number 3, Strays. Number 4, The Iron Giant. Number 5, Saving Private Ryan. And number 6, Awakenings. And again, for folks at home that haven't watched all of our episodes, that want to know our thoughts on these performances fully, I recommend you listen to our other episodes. They're pretty good. They're all on this podcast feed. Give us more clicks, please. So what do we think he goes? It's not number 1 and it's not number 7. I think that'll be the way we phrase all of these rankings from now on. But
I would put it like at 3rd.
Interesting. So you want to put it in between Strays being above it and Iron Giant being below it. And I guess, again, Iron Giant, he's got, 52 words he says?
Yeah. And he was just doing voice acting, then that was then tuned down. Like.
And everything below it, I mean, Saving Private Ryan was such a minor role that he was, like, okay at doing.
He was in
again a two-dimensional character was what Saving Private Ryan character was, but again, how brief he was in two-dimensional is fine because his character there was to illustrate a point. But even then, that's a two-dimensional way of acting.
And Strays was I could even, but now I'm thinking about it, you
put
could even
more
put
into
it above
Strays.
2. I could make an argument it's above 2 because this is Hollywood now. You know what I mean? And like, does he do the job that he needs to do in Hollywood? Like, these are all, the Multifacial and Strays are short films. And I understand we're not judging it by the film itself. But just like, he wrote all that stuff. He did all that stuff. And we thought his acting was all right. And then awesome at some points in like a Multifacial. But I feel like this film, he does a good job of doing what his character is supposed to be, which is a cocky, murderous asshole. So that's kind of how...
So you're saying either it sits at number 3 or sits at number 2?
One of those. I don't know which. I'm like, I don't know, since we haven't
both agree that Boiler Room is the best performance he's given.
Like that one like monologue
person.
he has was freaking incredible.
Yeah,
like that was awesome.
Which is why it's so shocking that she's not as good in a movie. You know what I mean? But I guess they were filmed at the same time, so maybe he had a revelation for Boiler Room.
But
I agree that it's above Iron Giant and the ones below Iron Giant. Strays to be obviously
you didn't like Strays at first. Remember? I remember
it's ranked bottom on our movie ranking thing.
Yeah,
because at the time and still I'm sticking to my guns here. I don't think it was very good. But again, reason why it's number 3rd on our Vin Diesel performance rankings is because he put his all into that movie. Literally, that's his money, film funding it, his direction, and all that stuff. And that I consider that a part of the performance, and we did. That's why it's above Iron Giant and all that. He did put his all into it. He was very amateurish in it. Heart and soul. How well does that come across on the screen? That's up to our subjective opinions.
But but he also got eyes. Like, remember, his eyes got almost permanently blind. He freaking dislocated his shoulders for a scene, which might have caused damage. You don't know. Like, he says he could do it, but it doesn't mean the next time you do it, it ain't gonna go well.
Yeah, and I mean, we can't credit this movie with it, because one of my fun facts was like, nowadays he owns the Chronicles of Riddick franchise, but that was not because of this film. This happens after the sequel. So we're not going to talk about that in regards to his performance for this, putting his all into it. Because in one of the later ones, he literally puts it all on the line for a sequel to this film. I'm willing to go above Strays, but I am also willing to say it goes below Multifacial, and here's why. Strays and Multifacial are almost the same kind of film. One literally talks, the short film literally talks about what he wants to say on face value, who he is, and then literally with the career he wants to have. And Strays plays it more, not abstract, but who he wants to be, not literally as Vin Diesel himself, but who this character is, and then with the same kind of struggles. One is very short and has a lot of good scenes with him in it.
Yeah.
One is very long and has a couple good ideas presented very slowly and poorly. I think that, and again, these both are things where he put his all into both multifacial and Strays. I cannot
disagree with that, no.
I think that multifacial is still a better performance than Pitch Black.
I think
if that makes sense to me.
will, yeah, because I'm going back and forth on multifacial, like over Pitch Black or Pitch Black over multifacial, and like I remember we were both like, "Damn, multifacial is great!" Like
it shocked us.
It shocked us. We did not think, we didn't know what we were going into, and we came out with a whole different perspective. Without that, like first one, I don't think this show would be where it is right now. Like we had this one idea of what Vin Diesel was, and then it changed with that. But at the same time, it's like, does a short, like I've had this discussion with you before, where like, does a smaller amount of scenes, even if they're great, better than a good performance throughout?
I guess you can come down to which is more memorable, which obviously a shorter thing has an advantage there because you have less to remember.
But to make things easier, I'll totally say it's third. I'll just do that at third. I think I can be here all day arguing against myself of whether or not it's second or third. But I think
we have bigger battles to fight in the days, in the months coming up ahead. I think this one is safe to say, or is safe to throw in the towel and be like, this is the way it is. So here is the Vin Diesel. Whoa. I typed out Pitch Blank.
That's the sequel.
Here's our Vin Diesel performance rankings as of the end of this episode. Number 1, Boiler Room, which I think will be tough to beat for a while. Number 2, Multifacial. Number 3, Pitch Black. Number 4, Strays. Number 5, The Iron Giant. Number 6, Saving Private Ryan. And number 7, Awakenings. Mm-hmm. So now we are on the lucky number 7 in our ranking now. So that is exciting. Before we wrap up this film, I do actually have a few more fast facts that I should have said before all of these rankings, but let me get to them now. Steven Seagal was considered for the Riddick role. I don't know if he was actually ever
interviewed or whatnot.
The fast fact I couldn't remember earlier when we were talking about Mad Max is about the desert. Deserts are very hot. When they were filming, it was actually quite cold. It was about 50 degrees. So they would actually have to like have people come on set and make them look sweaty. So, the set. So first off, if you saw through the credits there, I just one random thing I looked up and I saw there was like 6 or 7 steel workers listed for building the set. The set they left the set there. They didn't take it with them. And
how is that allowed?
Some entrepreneur said, "I'll just take it." Okay. And so some rich dude had it carted off somewhere else in Australia, and that's still there to this day. Apparently, you can see it on Google Earth if you zoom in.
We should go. That could be like the last episode if we ever catch up. We go to Australia and we go visit ourselves. We can do a GoFundMe. Pay for all.
Help make our show better. Yeah, help pay for our plane. We're flying first class, but please help us. I said all the other ones during the episode throughout. I think I've been getting better at sprinkling them in. So there you have it. That is our review and discussion on Pitch Black, aka the Chronicles of Riddick Pitch Black. Next month's episode, which you will find on September 1st, is going to be, you guessed it, The Fast and the Furious. God,
I can't believe we're back already, dude. I felt like we just watched this like yesterday.
This month was the first real beginning, but in a way, next month is the first real beginning.
For us, this was our journey with Vin. This is where else. I mean, we both knew who Vin was prior, kinda, and like then this was our first real taste though, was Fast and Furious. So it's good to come back. It's like vanilla ice cream. Like we're going back in, seeing if it's still good or bad. I don't know.
True. I don't know why you said vanilla ice cream, but I agree with you. So, yes, next month, September 1st, you'll be able to watch The Fast and the Furious. There is no alternate versions of that film. A lot of the other Fast and Furious have director's cuts that are like 2 minutes longer. So we always watch those longer versions, but The Fast and the Furious, got to specify with The Fast and the Furious, because there is a film called Fast and Furious, which is episode 15, not episode 6. Watch that for the next episode of the Chronicles of Diesel, a podcast you can find on various platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, YouTube, Stitcher, Pocket Casts. Those are the only places, I believe. Also on the feed, if you found us for the first time, thank you for listening. I'm happy that you enjoyed or hate listened to the whole episode here. Why don't you do yourself a favor and do us a huge favor? Go check out some other episodes. They're also on this podcast feed. We do a lot of movie reviews on our Sonic movie show. We do lots of movie news. Apparently mostly AMC news.
We're the AMC show at this point.
We almost named an episode "We're Sick and Tired of AMC Shit," and we didn't because that's how much we are. We reviewed a couple of video games. We might review more, maybe some real soon. And like all of the videos on YouTube. Just download all of them. All of the podcast episodes. Make our numbers go up, please. And then tell us what you thought about Pitch Black. Do you agree with our rankings?
Are we super wrong? Or is this the best movie
ever? Are we super right?
Made?
It was my hot take earlier in this episode the most unlikable thing you've ever heard someone say? Or is it, holy shit, you're right. Aliens is the worst alien movie in the entire franchise.
We'll do it.
And I'm including the 2 where he fought the Predator.
I'm including
the 2 where he fought the Predator. No, I never actually saw those.
They're bad, dude. I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I think the Michelle Rodriguez, was in the first one, and I saw
Oh my god, you're right.
Bit.
Holy shit. We have to do a Michelle Rodriguez podcast.
I remember a scene where she's with the Predator, and she says, I hope that thing kills every last fucking one of them, and my mom turned the channel.
I totally forgot that she's in that. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is terrible. I saw that in theaters, and even as a kid, I was like, what the fuck is this? That was bad. At least we got the Pred Alien, though. That was cool, I guess.
Oh, spoilers. I never saw it.
I don't think you're going
to. If you have comments to share with us, as we were trying to allude to, follow us on Twitter. The show can be followed at Sonic Movie Show. My name was Ethan, and just like my username on Twitter, you can follow me at Ethan Absolutely. Devin is on Twitter at CURSONA YouTube. He still has the pride flag, even though it's August by the time you listen to this. So go ahead and tell him that. Go ahead and tell him that you're glad that he's not one of those fake brands that as soon as July 1st rolls around, they immediately change their logo back because I guess they didn't really care about transgender rights and LGBTQ rights, and they were just doing it for profit. So congratulate him for actually caring about people through a logo.
I try. I actually really dig it. Like at this point, I'm like, I might legit keep it because I'm just like, it's kind of dig it, and I'm kind of sick of black or white. So
I sent you a bunch of ones and you never used them, but that's
I use the colors
because you didn't ask. You didn't ask, and I did anyway. So, yeah. See you next time. See you Sunday, which is actually tomorrow if you're listening to this, for another episode of the Sonic Movie Show.
That's if you listen to this when it comes out, because it might not be Sunday tomorrow, or is it?
They did. All right.
Okay.
Parting quote for you all. This movie sucks. Bye.
Cute kid.
Oh.